Joining us now, distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. Also joining us, former prosecutor, constitutional law attorney, and Newsmax contributor, Amir Benno. So the Southern District of New York says Senator Menendez got gold bars, which probably to hedge against Biden's inflation, he's smart, cash, a car, and other things in exchange for his influence, but also for giving sensitive information to the government of Egypt. Now, Menendez beat DOJ in his 2017 bribery case. Bribery, large amounts of cash and gifts, influence peddling. Amir, where have I heard about this before?
Right. Well, I think part of this could be precisely because the DOJ is not deaf to the fact that there is a two-tiered system of justice, and perhaps they want to go after a Democrat to create the impression that there's not. It does seem like, you said it first, Rob, presumption of innocence. Let's hold out on the verdict and asking for resignations, just like they're doing with Donald Trump. Everybody's entitled to their due process, including the senator here. Whether or not they're going to have a case, whether these were official acts that he did, lobbying on behalf of constituents wasn't found to be an official act the last time he was prosecuted. That's part of what he was prosecuted for here. We'll see if that holds water. He also has a defense under the speech and debate clause of the Constitution. We'll see if those shake out. But at the end of the day, we have to sort of hold off on issuing a judgment on this case until due process has been had. Yeah,
the U.S. Supreme Court in the McDonald case raised the bar, for the government, and rightfully so, to prove, otherwise they could arrest everybody and say that, they were under undue influence. Thane, Menendez is the deciding vote in a split Senate. He really could hold a grudge against President Biden and gum things up for his party. He'll now be running for re-election next year under a cloud of suspicion and will be attacking DOJ just like Trump. Election interference and witch hunt. So politically, does this help Trump next year?
Well, I think so, because remember, this whole case, all the politics around this election is based on these criminal prosecutions. And I think Donald Trump has an opportunity here to say, yeah, I may have called the Secretary of State of Georgia and asked if we could find 11,700 votes. But the next day, I didn't send gold bars to him. I didn't give his wife a Mercedes Benz. I was actually engaged in the kind of thing that's appropriate. There's no question of bribery. Oh, yeah. And in the documents case in Florida, Rob, yeah, I may have possessed classified documents that I had a possessory interest in holding on to, but I didn't share the documents with a foreign government. But when it came to Menendez, he's actually revealing state secrets to Egyptians. So look at how these charges against me are so jacked up, but the evidence is vague and is not substantial in any substantive way. So I do think by comparison, we keep seeing, you want to see what real influence peddling looks like? This, where there's gold bars, cash inside jackets. Mrs. Menendez was put on a payroll, right? I mean, that's incredible. A Mercedes Benz. So look, these are not good optics. And again, the charges of bribery and state secrets really look like they amount to something, unlike what I continue to say has always been vague and amorphous charges against Trump.
So let's switch over to Trump for a minute here and his legal issues. Special Prosecutor Jack Smith wants federal judge Tanya Chutkan to issue what he calls a narrow gag order. Evidently, Trump's public comments on Truth Social are hurting Jack Smith's feelings, and he says they're intimidating and threatening to prosecutors, the judge, and my favorite, a potential jury pool in a city that voted 92% for Biden and against Donald Trump. So, Amir, let me ask you, if Trump's words are so dangerous, instead of making this a First Amendment issue, why doesn't Smith charge Trump under 18 U.S. Code 1503 or 1512 for influencing and intimidating jurors and things like that?
You're asking me? I didn't hear who you asked.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amir.
Yeah. So, first of all, it's a good question as to why he's not doing it, because he's got a First Amendment right. And I think that's even beyond the pale for Jack Smith to suggest that would be criminal. And in these cases where there's a gag order considered, the judge has to balance the defendant's First Amendment rights. And here they're especially pronounced because he's a candidate for the presidency. and he's campaigning. It's an active campaign season. Second, his right to a fair trial under the Sixth Amendment, with the judge's ability to control the courtroom. These issues have all been aired out before. In fact, there was a case back in the 90s against when John Gotti was being prosecuted. His attorney was Bruce Cutler. Bruce Cutler's assistant, by the way, in that trial was none other than Joe Tacopina. And the DOJ went after Bruce Cutler for making public statements about the case after the judge had put a gag order. Who represented Bruce Cutler in that case? Susan Necheles, who also represents Donald Trump on the Alvin Bragg case. These lawyers surrounding Trump are very familiar with these issues. Tanya Chutkan is walking a very fine line here because she knows that if she oversteps, that she's going to be reversed. And also, she has to be prepared to enforce any sort of consequences if Trump violates that order. Is she, in fact, going to put Donald Trump in jail for contempt? Wouldn't that just exacerbate the situation? So I think Donald Trump's in a good situation right here. I don't think she's ultimately going to impose a gag order.
All right. Thane and Amir, I appreciate your insight in this, and of course, we'll always have you back. Thanks, guys.